Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our Monday night roundup here, looking back at the weekend's action and all the teams in our region. I'm Chris Bell. I'd like to say, join me as always, are Lewis Sale, Stephen Downs, and Gareth Walker. We will be joined a little bit later on by Stephen Brown and Jason Booker. First things first, how are we all, gents? Are we all well?
Superb, mate. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Gaz, how are we doing?
Thoroughly looking forward to Derek Adams doing us a dirty tomorrow. Yes, very, 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 very happy.
Let's start, though, Steve, with you. Firstly, how are you, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Let's talk Terriers then. And look, I feel like whoever did the description for this event, Town in Crisis, I mean, surely this is a fairly simple no, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit of a crisis, I'm not going to lie. You know, we've lost the last 6 out of 7. I thought it was 7 out of 8 before, because I thought we'd somehow lost a game that hadn't happened. But yeah, 6 out of 7, and another loss at the weekend. It'll probably be another loss tomorrow, and then probably another loss on Saturday. So yeah, it's a bit of it's a bit depressing down at the old John Smith's at the minute, I'm not going to lie. We've learnt that Lee Nichols is now out for 12 weeks, well, between 10 to 12 weeks, due to an elbow surgery. So they must be putting a new elbow on him. And yeah, I'll be honest, Duff and the press conferences, you know, I do like Michael Duff. I think it's idiotic. Some fans have decided that they want him out after so many games in charge, after, you know, what we went through last season, where we went through 3 managers and it just went down a spiral. We know how that ends. You've got to give somebody a chance. And with this, I'm going to say the word, systemic defeatist attitude within the club that has been around for the last, you know, couple of years, it's been difficult to get rid of it. And, you know, as much as Kevin and the people upstairs have tried to change the attitude round, ultimately it's what happens on the pitch, and that dictates the mood, and the mood is now not good.
But it's so early days. You know, yes, you're outside the playoff places, but not by much points wise. This is just a bit mad, isn't it, really, to have this level of hysteria, have some fans, you know, saying, get him gone already. It's been, yes, 1 win in the last 5 league games, you know, 1 win in the last 7 we've got games. I'm not including that Doncaster Rovers game, and I refuse to, by the way. The fact that you started with, 2 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old in central midfielder tells you just how important the club were actually taking that competition for a start. But,
Yeah.
like, it's 1 win in the last 5 league games is the bread and butter of the situation. That's not, yes, it's you know, not ideal, but clubs have had far longer runs and come back round. Like, even bloody Manchester City and top flight Premier League clubs can go 4 or 5 games without a win.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think just the fact of what we've been through as fans over the last number of years. I know the 2 lads on the bottom of the screen will probably say, whoa, you could have had it a lot worse. And I agree.
Hold my beer.
They could say if Carlin did Saturdays, Gaz and bloody Lou would win all day long, wouldn't they? But in terms of Town fans, you know, speaking just on us particularly, you know, it's been a bad couple of seasons. The club has felt like it's gone down a bit of a spiral, and it's not getting any better. Now, we started the season really well. Opening day, I came on here, absolutely, you know, unbelievable. You know, fantastic start to the season. But then every game that's come after that, there's just been little things that have gone bad, worse, bad. And then, I mean, I went to, I've been to most of the games, but obviously before the Reading game at the weekend, we lost 2-0 to Blackpool, and I did my after-match reaction. And genuinely, it was an horrendous performance. And we've seen some of them in the Championship, but, you know, when you have them in League One, compared to what you were having them in the Championship, it just makes it a little bit more worse. And I feel a little bit for Duff. I think sometimes he comes out and he says that he doesn't really understand what's going on, The mentality of the players is not right, obviously. You know, some of these players have been around the club for a number of seasons now. And that means that when they get into a habit of losing games, which a lot of them have been doing over the last year, maybe they just can't get out of it. Maybe they just that's it. Once they start losing games, it's over. And Duff can't really change that mentality, and he'll be trying his hardest, his damned hardest, to change it. So listen, we've got to stay with Duff. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we sacked him. Nothing shocks me in football these days. But I also think it's a modern day football fan thing. Oh, get him sacked. We love the drama. Get him sacked. We get a new manager in. It's all about the drama, isn't it? Rather than saying something.
I was going to come to this. Yeah, I mean, look, football fans love drama at the best of times. They love a panic. But we both sat down with Kevin earlier this season, and the impression that I got is that unless things are catastrophically bad, i.e. bottom four and haven't won in half a season, that he is the man for the job, and he will be given the time to see this job through, whether it takes one season or two, etc., to get promoted. What is it with fan bases now that they just love to panic? I don't know.
You see it at every club. Town's not like the only one here. We saw it at Leeds, you know, 2 games ago, and the whole thing about the transfer window and that sort of thing. But I do think there are problems there. I think there's problems, not necessarily the problems that Andre Bryanwriter spotted, because I think Duff stamped that out. And some of those characters have now left the building and are not there. So I don't see the same problems. What I do see, though, is that an attitude of, well, once we've gone to go behind or a bad mistake's been made, the players can't get their heads back on it. The Reading performance was better. It was better than the Blackpool display, but I just think there is a weak underbelly there of mentality, and it's been there for a while. And I'm not, you know, I haven't got a psychological degree. I didn't study that at university, and so I don't know how you change that mentally. Maybe the club could bring one of these specialists in. I don't know. Maybe that's something that they need to do. But I also think there's a problem at the, you know, in terms of the transfer that we did, the transfers, you know, we made some good signings. Anthony Evans, Sorensen. I mean, Sorensen, we spoke, and you know him very well, Chris. But he's not been the same player over the last 6 games, 5 games. You know, he's not doing the same things that he was doing in the first 3-4 games. So why is that? What is the problem that's? And he's a new player. He's new to the club, so there is a problem. I think we never fixed the striker issue, but I've talked about that before, and that's probably again another discussion and debate for another week. But I would say it's a mentality issue, and I think we've got to snap out of it quick, because we'll get left behind in the promotion race if we don't. And I know it's a long season, but I also think that's true.
I've got a couple of kind of points to put in a second. I just want to come across to some of the comments that we've had. Ryan, he says, got to give Duff time. He's one of, if not the best coach in that league. Ryan is a Leeds fan. He also makes the point that you could do with some Championship and Premier League loans. We talked about that quite a lot during pre-season and into the start of the season as well, Downsy, on that front. And then Terry930, he says he thinks a mid-table finish this season, get over Deadwood out next summer, and hopefully push on next season. Just so that Kevin Sats Cartwright, he says that he went to Reading on Saturday and it was shocking. I mean, you said it was better than the Blackpool game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go. Obviously, that fan did. I was 12 pints deep in Leeds on the Otley run, so I can't possibly say whether, you know, I can only say from comments, from reaction that I've read, the highlights that I've watched. I've gathered as much information and intel that I can spot to people that did go to the game, and they say it was better than the Northampton game, and it was better than the Blackpool game, particularly the first half. We did create chances, but you've got to put the chances away that you do create, and you can't make mistakes at the back. And again, we made mistakes. I mean, they were on Sky Sports today with Ref Watch or whatever it's called, with what's his name? Gallagher, is it?
Gallagher.
Yeah. And he was saying the second goal for Reading, the ball was moving from the corner, like a moving ball, when it was like, I'm not having that. Like I'll disagree with a penalty against Rotherham, but I'm not having the fact that we can moan and sit here and moan and say, "Oh, Reading shouldn't have scored a goal because the Town fell asleep, the corner was taken, the goal was scored, we lost 2-1." End of the day, it don't matter. That was the Town's defence problem, and we didn't play well enough to win that game. You know, so I feel that, you know, it's 2 tough games coming up next. It's Birmingham away, Barnsley at home. You know, one's a Yorkshire derby, and one they're riding so high, it's unbelievable. They're you know, the one thing I would say about them though is they have apparently not been spectacular in some fixtures, and
Is this Barnsley or Birmingham? Sorry, that yeah.
Birmingham.
Yeah.
They have got the odd Rick in them, as Peacock Faddle in the next show the other week. So you know, you never know what happens on the night in football. But I will be expecting at least, you know, a loss tomorrow and a heavy defeat with, you know, heads down, and then you go into a Yorkshire derby where it's all blood and thunder and against Duff's old team. So there's massive problems. We've got injuries. Harry Kane, bloody hell. Herbie Kane's not fit. Ladapo's not fit. Danny Ward's injured. Nichols is injured. Maxwell's got this heart problem, but apparently he can now play. Who else is injured? We've got some, like Hellick's injured. You know, there's not a lot in form. So yeah, it's a pretty depressing place, Chris. I'll be honest.
Would it not just be typically Town though to go and upset the apple cart when everyone's expecting and writing them off tomorrow night against Birmingham?
Oh, we'll win 4-0 tomorrow. We'll beat Birmingham 4-0 tomorrow and to shock everybody. We will.
Well, at least I'll end this winless run and stop people whinging.
Yeah, true. We'll probably go win 4-0 against Birmingham tomorrow and then lose 5-1 against Barnsley at weekend, and Barnsley will play as crap as what we will. It'll happen.
That's the beauty of League One, mate. That's the beauty of League One. That's
the frustrating. That's the frustrating and shocking heartache of being a Huddersfield Town supporter. That's what
all I'm going to say to give you some words of hope, mate, is there's one win in the last 5 league games. You don't have to worry. Lincoln went 10 games without a win between, I think it was December and the 2nd of February last season. And then we went the second half of the season practically unbeaten, apart from, I think, 1 game.
When Parky was our manager, we went. This is Parkinson's era when things were good at City. We went 16 games without a win at one point.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
you still made a League Cup final and got a promotion with Parky, didn't you?
Yeah. It's different because obviously Parky had, when that happened, Parky had credit in the bank because he'd obviously had a couple of good seasons before. I think it was in League One, so we'd already been promoted, but it was different. But it does happen, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just a bad run of form. It's as simple as that. You're not in crisis. You haven't got massive problems. I know you lost against Reading, but they're in a crisis. You're not in a crisis.
Yeah.
The injuries will come back. You'll start to play good football. You've got, like Ryan said, he's got one of the best coaches. I agree with what also Ryan's commented at the start as well, saying this, for me, and I said this right at the very beginning of the season, it's one of the most competitive leagues in the country. I 100% agree with that. I think it's a really, really difficult division to get out of. It was never going to be guaranteed. That mentality of what's happened over the past few years is probably still going to stagnate a little bit because you've not had a complete clear out from top to bottom. Unless you did that, that's when it will change. And even when you do change that, it's going to take a lot of time to get used to and bed in. So I think there's quite a big overreaction to what's happening. Yeah, it's not been ideal losing a few games, but you're still going to be thereabouts. And if you want to put results on the table, you're 2 points away from the playoffs and played 8 or 9 games. Come on, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's early days.
What I would say is we had a partial reset in the summer. I think we had a partial reset, and obviously Duff was a big part of that, coming in as manager and sort of leaving the old behind with Brighton Writer and all what happened last season.
Would I be right in saying, Steve, sorry to interrupt, though, not anywhere near as big a reset as we expected at the end of last season? We really seem to, I think we all kind of thought it would be a much more aggressive clearing of the decks than actually what it turned out to be.
Yeah, but the problem is, I think a lot of these players still have 1 year on the contracts, and so obviously Town got relegated, and that means that nobody really wanted them. We saw that nobody came in for Hellick, nobody came in for Nichols that we know of. That's public. Nobody came in for Spencer. I mean, Spencer's not one that I want to get rid of anyway, but you would think that, not that I want to get rid of Hellick or Nichols, but you would have thought that some people would have been coming in for them, and they didn't. But then there's a lot of the other, as Ryan called it, I think it was Ryan that said Deadwood, and we couldn't get rid of them either. Now, we did get rid of some. Tyree Simpson went. Some players have gone out on loan. Jackson's gone to Barrow. But there's still, players on big wages like Danny Ward, who's, been injured a lot for his time at Town. I would let him go at the end, and I certainly would not give Danny Ward a new contract. I would be letting him go. I think Reece Healy, as good as what he's been, in terms of some matches that I've seen him, too injury prone. We signed Ladapo, but he needs to get to match fitness. Would you keep him? I know he signed a 2-year deal. So there's some big decisions to be made at the next summer. But there's a lot of these players that need to go now, I think. But we've been saying that for 2-3 seasons, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but I think this is a thing, Downsy. You're not going to have a complete and utter mentality shift and a full reset unless from top to bottom it changes.
And I agree.
Even if you kept a few people either at the top echelon or from a player perspective, you're still going to have a little bit of hanging over you. And until that is completely cleared, which is, it's very rare that happens in football. And I think, listen, from your perspective, you named them players, which, you're right. Some players are stuck around that you may have expected to move somewhere else, but hey, that's football. And at the end of the day, I think it's blown out of proportion, like it is with City, which we'll talk about later on with Gaz. It's not the end of the world. It's a fine balance, and at that moment in time, when you're losing the games that you have done, it feels like it's on the edge. I get that as a fan, 100%. But you've got to take yourself out of the situation and look at it as a whole and actually go, just a bad run of form. And Duff knows all about it. And if there's one person I think who can sort that out at Town, it's Michael Duff. I think the worst thing you could ever do is to get rid of that man at this moment in time.
And if you want in this shift, and you're saying there's a lot of dead wood, and you need a shift in mentality, it don't happen overnight, mate. It ain't going to happen in one summer. It won't happen in one summer, will it?
No.
It's a couple of winters.
I agree. I agree with you guys, but the problem is that, and what we've had over the last 2-3 seasons, is that we've had that many managers and that many mini resets or whatever. Warnock came in and gave a few people contracts that you would have thought, well, it's time for them to move on. But then that happened. So then you've got to keep them. Warnock were then sacked after 7 games. Darren Moore then came in. Then it's another reset. So it's kind of, I thought when we got to Duff, it was going to be a clean start. You need to keep hold of him. There's no danger of us going down in League One, like, you know what I mean? We're not that crap. But we are. No, you're in a different league. You're good for League Two.
That's where you've had.
But I just think that we need a full reset, as Lou says. A fuller reset and get some of this deadwood shifted and moved on. And also, what I would say is there needs to be some scrutiny, bigger scrutiny at the top of the club for certain people. Now, fans can call certain individuals all the names under the sun. I don't agree with that on social media. I don't agree with attacking people, to be honest. In terms of you can have an opinion, but taking that opinion goes too far sometimes. And there are certain supporters that have got agendas built against people at the club. They might not have done a great job, and they might need to be moved on themselves. But it needs to be done in the right way, and it needs to be, from a scrutiny position. And Kevin needs to say, look, it's not been good enough. You're not doing a good enough job. you're obviously not performing to the level. You might be trying your best, but from what I've seen and the analysis that I've got, you're not doing a good enough job. And clearly supporters are smart enough to know that you're not doing a good enough job. I'll let people make up their own minds of the individuals that I'm speaking about.
I mean, I was just about to say, what's your take on the recruitment staff at the club then, and how it's gone so far?
Yeah, well, the recruitment staff, like the medical department,
bear in mind that it's their job to get rid as well as bring in.
Yeah, I mean, but the recruitment department, as well as the medical department, I think needs to be looked at. Town signed far too many injury-prone players. Town also don't keep players fit for whatever reason. We have this really bad thing about over the last 3-4 seasons of people being out either for ages or in the case of somebody like Reece Healy, we're not really sure what's up with him, or if we do, we're not really sure how to solve it. Or I'm sure there's lots of good people. There's lots of good people that work at Town, but we need to start doing better off the field in recruitment and in the medical department, because we can't keep signing players and then they're breaking down after 3 weeks. It's just not, and especially when they're supposed to be top players as well. The players that we're going to rely on to get us out of this division.
So on that, quickly before we move on, if we're gonna say that from a Town perspective, some of that budget and that money has got to be assigned to sorting out potentially that backroom staff, which compromises a playing budget. So what do Town fans want? And I'll be interested to see what people comment and respond to that, because if you're needing to bolster the medical department and all that, this, that, and the other, then that probably sacrifices 2 or 3 players, which is what you've got injured in the summer. So you can't. This is a thing with respect, and I say that to you down the door as a tongue in cheek, but with respect, being in League One, you can't have both. So what do you do? Do you bolster playing squad like you have done? And the recruitment's been okay. Again, to the point we made last week about Leeds United, has it been earth-shattering? No, but it's been okay. Or do you go down the route of keeping the same players but building your backroom staff? Because you can't have it both.
Well, I think you get to a point this season, if the turnaround doesn't happen, and we're not looking like if we're going to finish mid-table, or we're sort of, we give up the ghost on the promotion, right, and we just accept that we're going to have to do it next year. By the time we get to February, March, you need to be planning what's going to happen, not just in recruitment, but what staff are you going to change in your medical department for the season after. I think, because you can't have it. It's like Leeds in the Championship, right? First season, they needed to bounce back up because of the finances, right? They've missed their opportunity. So this season's like we're all saying every week, particularly when they've had a loss, we're saying it's the last chance, isn't it? In terms of they're getting desperate out there to get up. Town are in a similar position in League One because of the finance, the way that League One finances work. So yes, you can spend 70% of your turnover, but that's for the first season. That it goes down after that. The more time you spend in League One, the worse you get financially off, and then you come to a level playing field with the rest of League One. It's the same sort of, even though the mechanics of the finances are different, that they work in the same sort of way. So that's why Kevin has said we need to be going up. We need to be going up, because he knows you've gone from 3 million TV money to 8 million in the Championship to whatever it is in the Premier League. You've lost 5 million in TV revenue. You've lost season ticket money. You've lost, all sorts of like kiosk money and all that sort of stuff. So it makes a big difference. And I would say, Lou, that I would, for the longer term, you go out and you recruit people in the recruitment and the medical departments that are, better. But I'm not saying more qualified, because I don't know the qualifications of the people that are there now. But certainly for the people that are there now, we're not doing well enough, and we haven't over the last 10 years, bar 3 seasons. We haven't. It's just fact. It's there for all to see.
It's interesting actually what you're listening to you talk, because so much of what you say, Downsy, you could rinse and repeat and say it for City. And just when you were mentioning there about the medical team and changing it and making it better going forward, and that's a long-term plan. As Ian just says, we have a history of signing injury-prone players, and I spoke to Lou about it in the group chat, I think a week or so back, and Alexander's changed all the medical team over the summer, and in the hope that we can avoid these soft tissue injuries.
Yeah.
And what's happened? We've got something ridiculous. We've had 10 players out already. I think we've got 8 out at the moment. It doesn't seem to have made any difference. And whether what I'm saying is you can make the changes in the hope that it will, but it's never.
There's no guarantees, is there?
There's no guarantee that you're not going to pick up these soft tissue injuries, and they were hoping, like I said, that making the changes behind the scenes would do it, and it hasn't done.
Yeah, but I get
rid of all these people, brought some new ones in, and we've got 4 or 5 hamstring injuries already.
Yeah, but I get it, guys. Right, we're signing players, because of where we are in the pecking order of football clubs. Right, we're not going to sign the best technical players, the least injury prone players. I get it, but when you go out and Reece Heal is a perfect example. Yeah, and I don't want to pick on Reece because he's obviously clearly wanting to get back. And he's missed a lot of football, and he said that when he signed. But we signed Reece Healy for £2 million, and Town never pay money for a striker. Never. We paid £2 million to bring him in, and we knew that he had this injury, because it says in the medical that he's got this injury, and after 2 weeks, he's injured for 6 months. So that, not 6 months, but about 3 months. He missed 3 months, came back, played a few games at the end of last season, gone all through pre-season, done all right, done really well, scored goals, looked great, really excited that he's going to bag 20 goals in League One. And then he plays 3 games and he's out. And nobody now seems to understand. I mean, Duff's been asked about it in press conferences, and Duff's come out and said, listen, I'm not a medical expert. I can only be told what I'm told by the doctors. And we can't, he can't play. He's not able to play. I don't think he's training. He's not able to train properly because of this injury. So when we sign these players and clubs go on about the medical all the time, why is it when they know that a player's got an injury, why did they go, do you know what, we're going to risk £2 million, which is a lot of money at Town, or say 500 grand at City or whatever, 300 grand at City to sign a player, but we know probably he's only going to play 30% of his games. If that, it's absolute madness.
It is. It's twofold, isn't it? It's not signing injury-prone players, and it's getting the medical stuff right. You've got to balance. You've got to do both, really, haven't you? You can't be signing injury-prone players, but you've got to have the medical staff that can stop players that aren't injury-prone picking up these injuries.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Like Lee Nichols has got this elbow injury, and that's fair enough. Goalkeepers pick those sort of injuries up. I get that. You can't say anything about Lee Nichols. He's hardly ever missed a game for us over 3 seasons or whatever he's been at the club. But when you sign an injury, and I'm not talking like Varney used to be injured. James Vaughan used to break down all the time, but he'd still score you 15 goals a season to keep us in the Championship. He'd still be worth the money that we spent on him, and we only spent 600 grand on Varney, but he was worth it. But when you've paid a lot of money, like I said, £2 million for somebody, or like Radinho Bolka, 1.5 million or whatever, we've seen him play twice, 3 times, 1.5 million. It blows my mind. It's like we're going to sign this player, and he's going to be really good for us, but we actually know that he's got this injury, and we can see it you can see it in the records or on the X-ray or whatever. It stuns me. So yeah, we've got a massive problem with injuries.
It's the reason.
Sorry, I've gone on a bit of a rant there, but
it's the reason though that players of that quality end up at this level, isn't it? Let's be honest. If players of a good quality didn't have issues like injuries, they'd be playing higher up. It's one of the reasons
I'd rather
level.
But I'd rather spend the money on a younger player, say 19-year-old striker from League Two, or like what Peterborough do in that Con Clark, who scored a lot of goals at Altrincham, and develop him, and know that he's gonna make it. All right, you can never tell with younger players, but I'd rather spend the money and put the time and effort into that than signing a player that's say 28 and going to get injured all the time.
I think a lot of fans would like their club to have the recruitment that Peterborough have. They're absolutely fantastic. They've been doing it for a few years now.
That's Downsy complimenting Peterborough on that bombshell.
I know it's amazing. Isn't it? By the way, we had a timing for this show, and Lewis has just taken it all out of whack. So well done, mate. Cheers for
that. Yeah, what was it? 10 minutes of club we were aiming for. Half an hour later.
10 minutes of club, yeah.
Wow.
Half an hour later, we'll move on to Bradford City. Actually, just before we do, down to
predictions.
No. We're planning that. However, Town fans, do get your predictions into us on social media or in the comments as well. Your predictions for Huddersfield Town versus Birmingham tomorrow night and against Barnsley at home at the weekend. I mean, down to your final thoughts actually on these two games. I mean, look, I know you said it could be a cricket score tomorrow night, but you never know. You never know.
No,
I'm just going to say somebody's going to go in hard on Alfie May pretty early doors, aren't they? And then after that, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, Alfie May will probably get an hat-trick tomorrow. So I'm just not. I'm glad that I'm going to be playing football because I think I've been raging at the radio. I think it's on Sky Red Button actually. So
yeah, we're on Sky Sports Plus.
Yeah, I'm not excited about the game tomorrow, Chris, at all. So it'll just. I think we're going to get battered. I actually do. Not that we're doing predictions, but I think we'll lose 5-1. I actually do.
Well, there we go. Let's move on and. I would say, see if we can find some happier times in Bradford City. Gaz, I mean, look, we were going to talk about the bigger issues, but I guess one of the bigger issues relates to the fact that obviously at the weekend, City fell to defeat on the road again, this time away at Harrogate Town. That little hoodoo that they had over you, which you seemed to lose last season, is back.
Yeah, to be honest, you can probably skip Bradford and just repeat everything that Downs has just said about Town and Bradford City when he says Town.
Welcome to Leeds United.
It's 3 away losses on the bounce in the league. Similar issues with each one. Yes, we can talk about injuries because we've got a hell of a lot. We've talked about how we've had to rejig the defence and now we've gone to 4-4-2 when we wanted to play 3-5-2, and we can talk about refereeing problems that we've had with referees over the last couple of games. But the bottom line is that in the last 3 away games, there's been an issue with the team mentality. I think that's surfaced in each of the last 3 away games, and it's not matching or not being able to cope with the home team's intensity. And it's just not good enough, really. Alexander spoke about before Harrogate how we'd be ready. Well, we didn't. Like I said in my match review, we didn't look ready when the game started. They outran us, they outfought us. We couldn't cope. We looked sluggish. We looked lethargic, and that was at the start of the game. And it was same at the start of the Walsall game a couple of weeks ago. We never recovered in either game. We were behind. We were 2-0 down. Against Harrogate after 20 odd minutes and never recovered. We did get back on level terms with Walsall, but that was totally against the run of play, and we lost that game. The Grimsby game, the third one, that was the first game that we lost, was a little bit different because yes, there was not being able to cope with their intensity and us being sluggish and not living with not competing and losing individual battles and all the same kind of stuff. But it didn't happen at the start of the game. In that game, it happened partway through when they scored against the run of play, and we had to rejig the defence because of a couple of injuries. And for a half an hour, 40-minute period at the end of the first half, beginning of the second, it happened there. And we've got to put that right because we can't be being beaten for intensity and passion and losing individual battles and being outrun and being outfought for any period of any game, whether you're in League One, League Two, the Championship, whatever, because even if you have got better players on the pitch, which we believe we have, you're still going to lose the game if your mentality is not right. And and you've got, I suppose the key phrase is that I've seen over the weekend, you've got to earn the right to play. And at the moment, they're not doing that, and they haven't done that in away games. And it's quite interesting that the away form's bad and the home form's decent, because it's been the opposite over the last few years at City.
I don't want to necessarily kind of dumb it down, but isn't this just football again? These runs happen away from home. These runs can happen. Obviously, City's form at home has been, I say, poor over the last few years, and it's kind of changed a bit. But isn't it just football? It happens.
The runs of form happen, Chris, but you shouldn't be making the same mistakes in each game, should you? You should be. You've got to be ready. You've got to stand up to the fight from kickoff. When you know, and if it's happened in one game, you make sure it doesn't happen in the next game, and you make sure that you're not running out for. That's attitude. That's standing up for the fight and winning your individual battles, and like I said, competing and playing at a tempo and it's getting your mentality right. And there has been a feeling in the last 2 away games that City haven't started the game with the right mentality. Now, why that is, only the players can answer that. Graham Alexander said before the Harrogate game that we were ready. Well, like I said, we didn't look ready. They started so much faster than us, and you've got, and when that's happened in the previous away game, you've got to make sure that it doesn't happen in the next one, and it has done. So that's something that we need to address.
So, Gaz, you've obviously defended Alexander pretty staunch previously, haven't you? Where fans have literally been jumping off edge of a cliff with him pretty much since day one, really. Style of football and all this. Is this on him, the form, or is it on the players? Or are you just actually not good enough? Like, I think sometimes that angle kind of gets lost in the argument. In that, are you actually just not good enough to finish in the top 7?
There's always someone to blame, isn't there? And that always overshadows the fact that actually it might just be that on given days and over the course of seasons, there might just be better sides out there.
Yeah, there's that argument. Obviously, there's always someone to blame. It's happened. It's the same at every club, isn't it? When you lose, you're looking for someone to blame. What I would say is that just you mentioned Alexander there, and I've noticed over the weekend, and we've talked about it on the pod before, that voices are always there at City complaining about the manager, and there are some now. But what I have seen is a lot of fans shooting those people down and saying this is a bigger issue at City. Changing the manager has not worked in the past. Why we've got to learn from our mistakes and not change the manager every time results don't go right. There are a lot of people who are saying that now, and it's quite refreshing in a way.
I was about to say this sounds unusually positive, actually, that there are a louder positive voice out there compared to the ever so loud group of managers out, City fans.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are those people that are still saying this is on Alexander. The style of play is rubbish. He's not a good manager. Get him. We need to sack him. We need to get somebody else in. Someone said, let's get Pete Wilde in. That was the latest one the other day. But there are people coming. I think at the moment, for now, there are more people coming back, sort of saying this is a bigger issue. It's not all on the manager. Like I said, learn from previous mistakes. What I will say is we go to Morecambe away tomorrow night, and if we come out with the same attitude there that we've done at Walsall and that we've done at Harrogate, then the longer this sort of issue or this starting game slowly goes on, then the louder those voices are going to get. So what I'm saying is you can't keep repeating the same mistakes. What we need to do is make sure that we start quickly tomorrow night and that we stand up to Morecambe, and that I said on the pod last week, that the issue's been standing up and being up for the fight and being up for the battle. And we haven't done. I was worried that we wouldn't do it at Harrogate because we didn't do it at Walsall, and we didn't do it at Harrogate. And we need to put that right, and we need to start doing it because, like I said, if we keep repeating that same mistake, these voices are only going to get louder.
And a battle is exactly what you'll get tomorrow night as well, especially up against, of course, Derek Adams, the former manager, a Morecambe side that have drawn the last 3, is it? But lost 4 and haven't won yet this season.
By all accounts, they've been improving. Yeah, they've still not won. You just know that is likely to happen tomorrow night. They've got a few ex-City players in the ranks. Lee Angol, Luke Hendry, Jan Songo. Obviously, Derek Adams as manager. He said, I know they call him deluded Derek sometimes, and I didn't watch their game at the weekend, but he said they were unfortunate to only draw that game. Apparently, they played Notts County, and Notts County were he says we're fortunate to get a point. So their performances are improving.
To be fair, the performance against Fleetwood was decent. Where they were 2-0 down and came back. I did watch that one. In fact, I think it was last Monday night. Actually, it was the Monday Night Football last week. And I'm kind of watching it, and they did actually do all right.
So they are apparently improving, and we've got to go there. And like I say, make sure that we don't repeat the same mistake. I can't see us having any players back just yet. I think that Neil Byrne and Aidan Baldwin aren't far off. But I would imagine that they won't be back tomorrow night. We do then have 6 days before our next game. Our next game is actually the Monday after at home to Morecambe. We've been moved for Sky. So I would imagine there won't be anyone risked tomorrow night. There might be a chance that those players might be back. So we're going to be stuck with that 4-4-2 again. So we can't be. Yeah, that excuse is there and ready, isn't it? And I'm sure that the referee excuse will be there and ready like it always is. But what can't be there is this attitude and not starting fast enough from the start, because it's just not acceptable.
I mean, I'm just going to bring Ryan's going. So it's certainly not going to be this easy. Ryan, surely going to walk over Morecambe. That is not going to be the case. It's going to be a battle, come what may. Lewis, I think you had some thought.
I'm just interested, obviously, based on what's been said. Again, I think it's similar to Town. I think there's a massive overreaction to some of the stuff. Again, you get rid of Alexander, you're still going to have the same problems over and over again. We only saw last season where there were a protest. Not seen much of that since, because she started going on a good run of form, in my opinion, and kind of dilute some of that stuff that goes off a pitch, in people's opinions. I mean, for me, I've seen it at different clubs before where just because you're on a good run of form does not mean that stuff off the field is working well. You know, we're interested in listening to like a national radio station, and with a situation talking about Aston Villa, you know, absolutely flying. They've never been as good as what they have been in years, but there's decisions being made off the field, for example, Champions League prices, which has annoyed people. So just because they're doing well on the pitch doesn't mean they're always getting stuff right off it. I mean, is this? Do you think it's going to kind of come to the forefront again if the bad run of form continues and that vicious cycle comes round again? And I don't know. Again, it just seems to be at City, like I said, similar to Town, and in some respects a little bit similar with Leeds. But Leeds are probably more aimed at Farke at the moment, where you're 3-4 games away from, you know, a crisis.
Yeah, you're right, and there will be people that, like I said, there's those ready and waiting, or that are already having a go at Alexander now. And I said if we lose tomorrow night, they'll get louder. I'm sure that the noises will come back and the complaints will come back about the ownership and the way the club's run. That'll get louder as well. Like you said, Lou, when you go on a good run of form, everything else pales into insignificance and people don't moan. When you start losing games, people look at things like that and start to complain. I've seen people tweeting the independent supporters group this week saying you've gone very quiet. You know, you organised this protest last year. You know, are we still not happy? Are we going to be? You know, they're asking basically, are they going to mobilise again?
And that's happening now. Guys, the owner's still there. Nothing's changed, has it, off the field? The owner's still there. Everybody else is still in place. The only difference is David Sharp's now there. Is that solved everything? Question mark. Discuss. You know.
So there's people already asking that question: are the supporters group going to be mobilising again? And the response that I saw, the tweet that was sent out was, we're watching everything that's going on. There's people saying, like I said, that we spoke about in pre-season. People are already saying where the investment that Rupp supposedly put in, where is it? We didn't get to see it. It's not there. So people are raising these questions already.
Okay.
And the more you lose games, the louder these people are going to get. So it's like you said, Lou, the only way you stop it is by going on a winning run. But on the flip side of that, surely you should be still. If you're not happy with the way the club's run and you're not happy with this, that, and the other behind the scenes, you've got to still persist with those things, even when you are on a winning run. Otherwise, you just look silly.
And that's kind of where I'm getting. I mean, crikey, I'm not encouraging anything like that. But this, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Is nothing changed since what happened last time when you demonstrated to where it is now. The difference is that you've had a bit of an upturn in form, and don't get me wrong, you've not won every game, but you've not lost every game. It's kind of to probably be expected roughly whereabouts you are, maybe apart from the past couple of results. So what's next? And I think this is a thing with Bradford City. It's always about the very much for here and now, which is fine. But again, where's the planning? Where's the strategy? What is Bradford City? What is it meant to be? Is a Bradford City happy to be, being brutally honest, an average League Two club? Let's be honest about that. Or have you got ambitions to become a League One team, bottom end of Championship team? There's a big difference, and that's got to be where kind of the scales have got to be balanced out now on what people's opinions are and make that work. I think Alexander will do a good job. I think you'll probably get in the playoffs this season just about, even with the quality of squad you've got. I think he'll probably still build on it. But again, like we discussed with Leeds, Parker's probably the right man to get Leeds out of that. But what happens next? This is a thing. And I know the here and now is important to get out of that 100%, but there's got to be future-proof in that club. And I think this is where City have just kind of sometimes not maybe got it right of what that looks like. And this is why we see and hear the same stuff about City year on year, don't we?
And it's interesting you should say that about future-proofing, because we kind of touched on it with Town there, didn't we, with the investing behind the scenes and not putting everything into recruitment here and now. But there has been City fans rumblings, or should I say a few people have said for a few years now that obviously we had that good cup run, or those two good cup runs 10, 11 years ago, whatever, and really we're back where we were with nothing to show for it now. So should we have been investing behind the scenes then? Should we have been developing the club off the field? Obviously, at the time, everyone wants a shiny new toy. Everyone wants a new player or a couple of new players that you think can get you into the Championship. But in a way, sometimes that's built on sand, isn't it? Sometimes you've got to look at the longer term view and the bigger picture. And yeah, like I say, it does come down to results. And tomorrow night, I've seen, like I said, people saying it will get toxic if we lose tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm sure it will, but I'm unsure whether it'll get as toxic as it did for Hughes just yet. But if we don't sort this issue out about starting where we start games so slowly, it's going to get to that stage eventually. Because, like you say, Lou, it happens year in, year out with Bradford City, and we go around in circles.
What are your thoughts then, Gaz, before we move on to Leeds then, with tomorrow night's game, obviously at Morecambe, and then next Monday night's game, which I'm going to assume that you'll be going to, against Newport County at home?
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow night as well, Chris. So I'm hoping, like I said, I'm just really hoping that our attitude's right tomorrow night. It seems wrong that you're questioning attitude, but it's not for the whole game, and it's not a general thing that we're always got this bad attitude. It's just the way that we've started the last couple of away games really slowly. We need to put that right. Like I say, I don't think there'll be any players back tomorrow night. I think we'll be 4-4-2 again. Very similar team to what started at Harrogate. So if our attitude's right, yeah, we can get something out of that game. And we should be getting something out of that game, because look at where Morecambe are in the league. Look at their squad compared to ours. But we've got to match them for intensity, and we've got to stand up to them. And yeah, if we do that, we should get something. But they're improving all the time, and it ain't going to be no cakewalk. We need to get this away form sorted out. And like I say, in the past, it's been our home form that's not been right, and now it's our away form that's not quite right. So we need to somehow marry the two up. Next Monday is a home game against Newport. I think we might hopefully have a few players back then. So depending on what happens tomorrow night, there could be changes. I've not heard anything about any setbacks, touch wood, for the injured players so far. So I would imagine that there'll be changes for next week. But tomorrow, I think we'll be going with the same team, and it's got to be all about the attitude tomorrow night.
At least the one thing you can guarantee tomorrow night, then when you do a trip to Morecambe, will be an absolutely belting fish and chips on the seafront before the game.
Absolutely, a few pints in that pub next door and a few fish and chips, and even if we don't get even if we have a bad result, we've still had a nice evening to an extent.
Absolutely. Silver linings, isn't it? It's always going to make the best of the situation when it comes to away days, especially.
You've got to try and find them, haven't you, sometimes?
Absolutely.
Me and my mate, I'm not actually going with him tomorrow. I'm going with another group of friends tomorrow. But me and my mate always say the number of away days that we've had with City, where the day's been great and it's been spoilt by the football. So you've got to try and make a day of it somehow.
True.
Gaz there casually showing up about having more than one group of friends. Let's move on then to Leeds United. Don't forget, Bradford City fans, before we do, get your predictions in across the comments on social media. Let us know your predictions for City for tomorrow night and next week's game against Newport County as well. Jay, for Leeds United, let's be honest, it's, all going all right, isn't it? A comfortable win over Coventry at the weekend. The only downside, of course, in today's news at least, is they're going to be the absence of Ethan Ampadu for recent weeks. But in terms of on the pitch itself, things seem okay. Things seem, dare I say, calm by Leeds United standards.
Yeah, well, it's funny what difference a couple of weeks can make or a couple of results can make. I mean, even a week, you know, the reaction after the Cardiff game and performance, result, whatever, however you want to kind of say it, was just wild. You know, there were still some fans saying it weren't good enough, the performance weren't good enough. We'd absolute. Well, us and Ryan have had some back and forward on it, and Gavin. Where I don't know if Gavin's around tonight, but yeah, it is hilarious. Some of the reaction to Farker in general, especially after the Cardiff result. You know, we dominated the whole game. Every single minute of it was pretty much comfortable. We won the game 2-0, and still some fans were asking for his head. I even saw one fan on social media say, given how much we dominated, we should have scored more. And the fact that he said that we dominated the game was the ultimate irony to the kind of complaint. We dominated the game. That's the point. That's what you want your team to do. Now, if that's holding onto the ball and suffocating the team into mistakes or the opposition into mistakes, then great, so be it. You know, we've conceded two big chances in the whole of our season so far. Two. That's it. Two big chances. We've conceded 4 goals. 3 of them were on the opening day. And then one against Burnley from a Manor Solomon slip. We've got 5 clean sheets out of 7. That's the kind of defence and backline that a championship winning team is built on.
Terrible. Farker out. Terrible.
Yeah, Farker out. Like, we're not even conceding chances for the most part, mate. I mean, Meslier had one real save to make. It was when we were 3-0 up the other day, and it was from about 40 yards.
Did he make it?
He did make it. It was actually a fantastic save. But he could have seen it coming from a mile away. It was one that he probably should make, given how far out Thomas Asante was. But anyway, that aside, like, there's nothing to complain about from the performances side, mate. There's not. I mean, Coventry, you know, because then the fight back from the negative fan side of the fan base is, well, look at who we've beaten. You know, Coventry are down there, Sheffield Wednesday are down there, Hull, blah, blah, blah. Hull have scored 7 goals in the 2 games since losing to Leeds, right? And won both games. Sheffield Wednesday then go and beat West Brom at the weekend. Right? That's the championship. These teams that we're beating comfortably, a championship team, that's what most of the division looks like. Coventry, Cardiff, Hull, Sheffield Wednesday, they're all the same.
And let's be honest, I think a lot of us expected Coventry to be around the playoffs come the end of the season. And don't get me wrong, there is still a hell of a long time to go. They could still turn things around. This is the beauty of a championship, is that anyone can beat anyone. You have to go back to that Plymouth result against Sunderland a couple of weeks ago that nobody saw coming. I'd say the Wednesday result of the weekend. This is just the championship, isn't it? And if Leeds are actually...
Friday.
Yeah, exactly, and if Leeds actually are... almost making a mockery of that, this is the championship thing, which I've just said because it is, and anyone can beat anyone. Actually, if Leeds are just going along quite nicely, beating whoever's in front of them, and you can only beat what's in front of you, happy days.
And to be honest, lads, I just jump in there. How many times do you say, like, we've missed out on promotion this season because we've not beaten these teams down the bottom of the league?
Well, that's exactly what happened last season.
I was going to say, you said it, didn't you?
With the exception of Plymouth, well, with the exception of Plymouth, we beat Plymouth home and away last season. We dropped points against all of the rest of the bottom 7. We dropped points against them all, home and away sometimes. You know what I mean? We, Huddersfield away, Rotherham away, we dropped points. Stoke away, we lost. Like, these kind of games, we were lost. And now not only are we winning them games, but we're making them look really, really comfortable with the style of play that we're producing. So you ain't going to see no problems from me, because it doesn't have to be crash, bang, wallop football to enjoy what's in front of you. I actually quite enjoy watching my team have a lot of the ball. It's really relaxing. It's not very stressful most of the time. So, yeah, we were excellent at the weekend. We played much quicker. We did get on the front foot much better. We were a bit more clinical. We could have still scored 6 or 7, Chris, if I'm honest. In the first half, we could have been completely out of sight. I mean, we had so many good chances, but we were more clinical. And I don't buy into this, Coventry. I know Ryan's there said that Coventry were dreadful. They weren't great, but we make them look dreadful. That's in part because of the way that Leeds are playing and the amount of pressure and, effective kind of holding of the ball that we're doing. It's not just because Coventry have turned up and not played well. It's because of the way that Leeds are playing too. So, delighted with the performances, mate. Getting on to the negative points, because I know we're trying to keep these now a little bit more condensed. So I'm going to try and move away from the game a little bit. Yes, we unfortunately heard the news today of Vampirdu's injury. I mean, we've become very accustomed to seeing him in the team. He played every single minute of every single game last season. He was an ever-present. I think he was only one of 2 in the whole of the Championship. Ampadu was one of them. Flew into a tackle basically 10 yards outside the Coventry box where he won the ball. We then went on to have a fantastic chance, could have resulted in a goal. It's a typical Ampadu challenge, and he's kind of just twisted his knee, and he's going to be out for what they reckon is about 10 weeks, which takes us obviously to about January. It's a worry. It's more of a worry for me because of the positions in which he can fill. In centre-back and centre-midfield, it gives us a variety of options. And Max Verber's also out with a knee injury where he's having surgery. So he's going to be out for 6 weeks, which leaves us with no backup centre-back apart from James DeBayo, who's a youth prospect, basically. He's made the bench pretty much every game this season, really, but he's yet to make a first-team appearance. So it does put a bit of a pressure on that area, especially given Pascal Schroik's injury history. He does like a few games out himself, and apparently both him and Rodon have been carrying knocks and playing with like slight little twinges and injuries. So there is concern there. And obviously that has got the potential to derail some performances because then you're having to make makeshift moves to put players in positions. But while there's no further injuries, and we have got other injuries right now, but while there's no further injuries in centre-back or centre-midfield, I think we've got enough to get through because Tanaka comes in. He looked excellent at the weekend. Pascal and Joe Rodon will continue at the back, and Gruev will be alongside Tanaka in the midfield. And I'm excited about it because Tanaka's just it's class. This guy just doesn't belong in the Championship. I cannot believe we've signed him for £2 million in the Championship. It's ridiculous. Anyway, you'll all see him because he's fantastic, honestly. He won't be in the Championship for long.
I think there's a comment earlier from Jason who's made it, and I think there's 2 angles to this where he says expectations galore, 3 points is all you need to walk away with. Yes, absolutely, 100% agree. But I say 100% agree. But I think there's a bit of an argument to where Leeds are at the moment is you're winning the 3 points, but you're actually the game that you've lost against Burnley. Take the Middlesbrough game out of it, because let's be honest, it's a cup. It's not in the league really. But you actually lost that game well. And I know that's a really awful thing to say, but right. You weren't dominated. To that fan who said it earlier, you dominated Burnley, and if you are going to lose a game, which away Leeds seem to be going about it, there's a way to lose a game and keep performance. So the thing is, what's impressing me at the moment with Leeds is that they're winning games and they're winning them well and they're dominating the game. If you were winning 1-0 but you were on the back foot, you'd be a bit like, you could almost appreciate some potential comments going, you know what, we might just need to up performance because we might just get caught out. But at the moment, while you're riding this gravy train, stay on it and just ride with it, because at the moment you've got a few injuries. And I know that me and Chris had a bit of a laugh about it last week. In my opinion, that Leeds having a stronger squad in the Championship, but it's going to be a real good test for Farke now, because obviously, like I say, you've got Tanaka who's played a few games. He's now probably going to be thrown in this situation where he's going to be maybe asked to play a lot more minutes than what he has done with Ethan Ampadu injured. And you wouldn't have signed a play like that if he didn't think he could do the job for 90 minutes anyway. So he's going to be a blow, but is he going to be as a blow, in my opinion, as potentially, I'm not saying potentially non-so, but of really key players, he's actually probably a little bit more replaceable in his attributes of what other players might be as well.
I made the point in the review show the other day, and some fans just could not get on board with what I was saying. I would argue that Ethan Ampadu, as long as everybody else is fit at centre-back especially, is probably the most replaceable player within our starting 11, him and Gruev. Because they do a very similar role. So if Gruev got injured, Ampadu could do it, and vice versa. And then Tanaka comes in, you've got Joe Rothwell in there, you've got other players that can play in that position, that can replicate what he does. Now, I'm not saying he's not a massive blow, he is, but he wouldn't be as big as losing Junior Firpo or Jayden Bogle or Matteo Joseph or Brendan Aronson right now, because we don't have a replication for what they bring within the squad. Right. Nobody else can do the jobs that they do, especially Firpo and Brendan Aronson right now. Like they're irreplaceable, because we've seen it last season, like what Brendan Aronson's doing right now. We didn't have that all last season, and as great as Gio Rota was in them moments, he wasn't as effective. I'm not saying Brendan Aronson's a better player, because he's not, but in them areas of the pitch where we need a number 10 to be as effective as what Brendan is being, he actually does the role better than Rutter did. So, yeah, I can completely get on board with that as long as the centre-backs stay fit. Because now that Verber's injured, if Pascal or Joe Rodon get injured, we're going to have a problem. James DeBio's going to have to come in and take a massive amount of pressure on his shoulders all of a sudden. Now, thankfully, we don't do a lot of defending. So, hopefully,
bonus,
even if he does have to step in, fingers crossed, it's not the end of the world. It could be the best thing that we ever see. I mean, that's how sometimes youngsters come into the side and end up making the mark that they have. So I'm not overly worried about it right now. We have got Schmidt is out as well of tomorrow's game. Manor Solomon's still out, which was always going to be a concern with him given his injury record. We do also have Dan James out and obviously Ampadu. I think I'm missing one as well. I did make a quick note. Anyway, yeah, we have got a few injuries, but I'm not overly worried because the squad should be able to cope with it.
And that's what you've got a squad for.
That's it.
Yeah. People talk about it, don't we? But that's why you build the squads. And we've said it before, haven't we? And I know you've made a really good point about this previously, is that you are going to have the odd gaps here and there because you're in the Championship. Even if you're in the Premier League, unless you're a Man City or an Arsenal, Liverpool, there's not going to be many, who haven't got hardly any gaps in the squad. But you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere along the line, and you're going to have injuries. And sometimes injuries, it's a cliche in football, but really do open up opportunities for these players to make a stand for it. And if you're one of them players and you're Farke, you're going to go prove yourself. Go and do it now, because you've now got a chance to do it. And actually, you need them players to get you through over the line.
100%. I mean, right now, while Solomon and James are out, Ramazani, Nonto, Brendan, they're all taking their opportunities and they're looking fantastic. And when they come back in, all they're going to do is improve the squad. Having Dan James and Manor Solomon back on the bench is going to be, pretty impressive. Right now, you've got Joe Perreault just sat on the bench, can't get in the team. You've got Bamford sat on the bench, can't get in the team. We still have a very strong squad. Tanaka and Rothwell were both on the bench at the weekend until Ampadu's injury. The squad is fine. And some fans, they act like the only team that suffers some injuries is yours. And like everybody else has got full complement of players to pick from. It's just not the case. So I'm okay with it. Like, you never want your best players to be out. And, Ethan Ampadu is our captain. As I said, he's been ever present. It'll be really strange us taking to the weekend. Taken to tomorrow without him in the side, because you become used to seeing somebody that's been in the team that much. And I can imagine the players will feel a little bit like that as well. He even played all the cup games, Ampadu, and never got rested. So it will be a bit odd, but I'm sure we should be able to deal with it.
Do you worry, Jace, that it's going to be a recurring thing with Leeds all season, that every time you have a bad result, people are going to just go after Farke? We talked about this a little bit on the podcast last week, and obviously you were on last week. We talked to Brownie about it. And he thought that. And then obviously as well, how much of that just comes out of sheer desperation? Because the longer you're in the Championship, the harder it is. And we can see the gap getting bigger and bigger all the time between the Premier League and the Championship.
Gaz, it's pure fear. That's what it is with a lot of fans. Well, it's two things: pure fear and Bielsa widowerness. I think that's the word. We're just full of, we are, as a fan base, widows of Marcelo Bielsa.
Right.
And Leeds fans, they just cannot get on board with anything other than what he kind of brought. It's still there, and it'll probably be there until the next 2 or 3 managers have gone. Eventually the fans that have been clambering for Farke are going to be able, for Farke to leave, are going to be able to say, I told you, because he is going to get sacked eventually. Like whether that's next year or the year after. So they kind of are just campaigning to kind of say, I told you so. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like sometimes with the fan base. They're spot on when it comes, we've lost 1 game this season in 7. Forget Middlesbrough in the cup, nobody cares. Like 1 game and we dominated that. We've conceded, with 5 clean sheets out of 7. How can you be that disappointed with this? We're 2 points off top of the league. It's Daniel Farke's best ever start to a season. Ever, and he's won this division twice and finished on 90 points with us last season. I cannot get on board with anybody having a problem with what's happened so far this season. I think we're building into it. I think we're looking better after every game. You analyse the performance, we've had more control, we've looked good, we're scoring goals from all over the pitch. But to kind of answer your question, I do. I think Daniel Farke would have to win the next 4. And then potentially he could lose the next 1 for fans to not go, sack him. Because for me, right, I think this week we've got Norwich tomorrow away and Sunderland away on Friday. They're both in the top 10. Sunderland have started, particularly well. 2 extremely difficult places to go to. I would actually right now take 3 points. I'd take 3 points as a guarantee out of them 2 games. I think 4 would be absolutely magical. 6 would be a dream, right? Because that's Championship football. You're going to drop points. But most fans would be like, no, you can't win and lose one. And I'm telling you, if we were to win tomorrow and then lose on Friday, you'd have some fans calling for that. You would. Yeah. Which is just crazy.
The theme of the night, I think, is showing that the panic is strong across West Yorkshire, regardless of club. The panic is well and truly alive and strong with all of them.
I made the point. Just let me say quickly, Lou. I made the point to to Brownie the other day that that fear doesn't need to consume you. But Daniel Farke is actually dealing with it extremely well. Leeds is a juggernaut. It is, and he gets paid handsomely to do it, and it possibly will be the biggest job that he's ever going to get, right? Because I don't think many Premier League clubs would come and take Daniel Farke. But all that said, given the pressures of the fan base and the way that the kind of hostility is, I actually think to be able to deliver the performances that he did, like he did at the weekend, and deal with it all, I actually think he's doing a fantastic job. I think he actually gets way too much criticism.
I love Jason's point here. I think we'd have to win every game 5-0 for the rest of the season.
That's kind of what we're getting at, isn't it? That's the stage you get into, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know what? He's took the words kind of out of my mouth, both Jason's there. And I say this about some people where I think they get a kick out of being quite negative and just stirring up stuff.
Yeah,
and my kind of saying is some of these people would want 4 points from a win. Nothing is ever good enough. 3 points is never good enough. They'd want 4. Yeah. Even if you got 4, they'd want 5. Some people are never going to be happy and content with what they've got. And I mean, it's staring them right in the face for people at the moment with the likes of Leeds. And it's the same with Bradford City, and it's the same with Huddersfield Town. Yes, poor run of games recently and you've lost a few, but you're not bottom of the league and you've not scored any goals and conceded 50 in 8 games. Let's all be realistic. Let's all calm down a little bit, have a little bit of realism and go, it's not as bad as what you might think it is.
We ain't getting anybody better than Daniel Farke at this level. We're not. And, for those fans that say, what about next season? We'll deal with that in the Premier League.
Get there.
If we got promoted sat the next day, I could totally understand it. If there were a Premier League manager that was going to be better. I could totally get it. But right now, the best man for the job is already in the job.
And let's be honest, the owners are probably already thinking ahead for the next 3-4 years because that's what they're paying to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's turn our attentions then to you, Lewis, and to the non-league scene. Before we do that, though, you were at the Bradford City versus Bradford Park Avenue Veterans game on Sunday. Just tell us a little bit about it and who was there, how it went, and what the day was like.
Yeah, so just to quickly give a bit of context, so Bradford Park Avenue every year run a beer festival and kind of family event across the weekend, and they raise money for Marie Curie and the BPA juniors, get split between both. And across that weekend, there's usually a match between both sets of veterans, shall we say. And Bradford City this year did bring a bit more synonymous names of us in recent years, like Billy Clark, Luke O'Brien, even like Lee Duxbury, Kevin Sanassi, etc. that came in. And more recently as well, some that we're going to obviously manage to catch up with as part of our show, which we're really kind enough for him to give our thoughts. So, yeah, it was really good to see him. It was a feisty game. Listen, it might have been for charity, but wow, there were some challenges flying in. One person I know really well is Rob O'Brien, who used to be Avenue captain. And he came away with bloodied ankles, with socks ripped. It was that kind of game. And this isn't, I know it's on AstroTurf a bit, but there was some tasty things going in. So yeah, it was really good to see. But like I say, it was all for a good cause. But it was really good to see the city lads make an entrance, and they were there for the whole day pretty much. Signing kids' autographs and meeting and talking to them, and also spending time in the bar with some of the older folk, shall we say. So yeah, it was a really good do, and like I say, we managed to catch up with a few of them.
You did indeed. So you caught up with James Hanson and Terry Dolan. You also caught up with former Bradford man Philippe Moraes. We're going to start with you catching up with City legend Dean Windass.
Yeah. Hey, we're Dean Windass of the West Yorkshire Football Show. Dean, putting your boots back on for the Bradford City Veterans. How was that one for you, mate?
Yeah, it was good quality. Obviously playing the Bradford Park Avenue lads. got a bit tasty. That's what it's all about. But listen, it's all about getting people together. It's all about getting the banter in the change rooms when you've retired, and then that's the main thing that you miss is the change rooms. Seeing a lot of old faces and that. Yeah, so 4-4, fair result really in the end. But it's not about the results, it's about obviously getting together and playing football and getting a sweat on and having a pint afterwards.
And obviously your time at Bradford City, for those that are going to be watching it, you had some really memorable moments in the Premier League and in the divisions below. Just to reflect on some of your favourite times there in a number shirt.
One of the best clubs I've played for, in terms of obviously success, in terms of the fan base. They're still turning out in numbers. I've always prayed that they'll get back to the Championship level, But it's been a long 4 or 5, maybe 10 years now since they've come out of the Championship and then the Premier League and then back into League Two. It's been tough, and these leagues are tough to get out of. But in terms of my career with them, 2 spells, great spells, under Paul Jewell and obviously Colin Todd, and that was brilliant. And yeah, great football club, great memories, and really enjoyed my time there.
And finally, as a proud parent as well as some of the lads who play football, it must be nice to see your lads do their business on the pitch, especially Josh at Wednesday.
Yeah, he's a good player. Obviously, they're a good side, Sheffield Wednesday, but we all know in the Championship, if you lose a couple of games, you're going to be in the bottom. And if you win a couple of games, you're going to be at the top. So, but they beat West Brom yesterday, top of the league. Sheffield Wednesday are a good side, to be fair. I called it yesterday, I said they'd beat him. Josh said they'd beat him. And obviously with him getting a goal as well is just a bit of an added bonus.
Appreciate that.
That's Dean Windass there, catching up with you, Lewis. And look, Gaz, just talk us through it. Dean Windass, obviously, you were supporting from a terraces on both spells that you had with the club.
Yeah, came to us when we were on the verge of getting promoted to the Premier League. First time he came, signed for us from Oxford in the January for £1 million. Couldn't straight away break the partnership between Mills and Blake, because nobody could that season, because they were absolutely phenomenal, but was fantastic for us in the Premier League, and obviously scored a couple of important goals that year that we went up as well. And then he left, went to Middlesbrough, had a spell I think he was at Sheffield United for a while, before he came back when we were in League One, and scored a lot of goals for us in League One. Carried us to a certain extent when we were in League One under Colin Todd. One of I think he's 4th or 5th on our all-time scorer list. So yeah, he's a big fan's favourite, he's Dino, and I know he's said before that we're up there in his affections, probably only behind his hometown club Hull, which is a big thing for him to say. So yeah, lots of love for Dino, and he's done well for us in the past, and it's nice to see his lad Josh doing well at Wednesday as well.
The goal that, just quickly on Dino, the goal that he scored at Hull in the playoff.
Yeah, that playoff final goal.
With the blonde hair and at 40-year-old to do that, it was just a magical moment. Obviously, I'm not a City fan, not a Hull fan, but it was one of them moments, wasn't it, that you can just look back on at a football fan. It was just surreal. It was a terrible game as well, but it just to get apart with that goal.
Hometown club scores the winner in the playoff final, and it's a belter like that. It's schoolboy dreams, isn't it?
Yeah, it was class.
Absolutely. Let's hear from another ex-City man then that you go with, Lewis, was you catching up with Philippe Moraes.
I'm here with Philippe Moraes. Philip, really appreciate you joining us on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Obviously, you've just played for Bradford City. Veterans, how are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, tired. It shows how quick you lose the fitness levels, and you can't play football without your legs. So doesn't matter how good you are upstairs, it's certainly very difficult. But no, it was enjoyable. It's always good to run around with the lads, and it was a good bit of fun, and there was a few spicy tackles getting thrown in, which was interesting, but it was good. It was good in the end. I think it was 4-4 in the end. I might have lost count, but fair score probably in the end.
Awesome, mate. Obviously, your time at Bradford City, for those going to be watching this, you had a really successful stint at Bradford City with some of ironically the lads who were playing out there. Just a few memories of time down at Valley Parade.
Yeah, that's the best bit about this, is getting back in the dressing room and the banter with the lads, and some lads that I'd played with, Hans, Billy Clark, so it's always nice and a pleasure to play with them. And we've got a good team. There was a few older lads as well, the Dean Windass, and getting to play with them and see their qualities, although they're a bit older, it's always good fun. So really enjoyed it today.
And finally, City this season as well, just outside the playoffs at the moment, but we're hoping to get there or thereabouts at the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope so. Every year we're hoping. I take the kids along and we go and support the team, and if I'm not doing the commentary, if I'm doing a commentary, I take the kids along and we're always hoping City start climbing back up the table. It's our local team, but it's just been really difficult for the last few years, and it's a big club in the division. It's always a scout for a lot of the other teams, so it's very hard for them. They've really got to compete and dig in a lot of games and show a really ruthless mentality to get over the line, and it's going to be hard for them. It's going to be hard, but hopefully this year with Graham Alexander, they find a system that works and they can find that consistency to eventually get promotion.
There we go. That's Philippe Moraes there talking to Lou. And look, Gaz, a little bit more recently, and obviously for a man that actually played for 14 different clubs across the UK, obviously still holds that affection for Bradford City, probably, you know, the most dearly.
Yeah, he does the radio commentary on Radio Leeds quite often, actually, with Jamie Rayner. It's normally Andy Kiwomya is the guy who does it the most, but I would say out of the ones that do it when Andy's not there, you know, Gary Jones, Mark Bauer's done it in the past. Philip does it the most when Andy Kiwomya's not there. He obviously has a lot of affection for the club. He said there that he still lives in the area. He was a good player for us, Chris. We got him, Parky signed him. I think he had him in on trial at first, and then signed him when we were in League One. Right winger, did a great job for us, really. What I like about him is he talks a lot of sense when you listen to him on the radio. He sees the game, how the fans see it quite often. You can, you know, you trust him in what he's saying. I like him. I think he comes across really well. And he also has a place in Bradford City Folklore because he scored in that 4-2 win at Chelsea in the Cup. I don't know if any of you remember that, but he was released by Chelsea as a lad. So to go back there and then score in the Cup when we beat them as a lower league side, you know, you could see the joy in his face. And he was a member of another really great City side. So he stands up there in City affections as well.
Absolutely. And then the final video that from you, Lou, was catching up with another City favourite. In fact, two people that have links to both sides of Bradford, in James Hansen and Terry Dolan.
So I'm here with Terry Dolan, James Hansen for West Yorkshire Football Show. First of all, gents, obviously Terry, you managing, Jim putting your boots on for the City Vets. How did that one first of all for you, Terry?
Well, we managed to draw out of it. We got beat here last year in the same sort of style of game, so at least we got one better today.
And Jim putting on the Claret and Amber shirt at Horsefall as well.
Yeah, obviously split loyalties a little bit, but I really enjoyed the game. I think it was a competitive game, you know what I mean? Like, obviously both teams, even though it's for charity, you want to win at the end of the day, and you saw that today with a few fiery challenges. But overall, a bit of bad defending from both teams. So that's, you know, 4-4 probably fair result.
And obviously for the pair of yourselves, we've got connections with both Avenue and Bradford City. Starting with you, Terry, you've got some memorable moments for both teams across the city, haven't you?
Yes, memorable moments with Park Avenue when I made my debut as a professional footballer, and then obviously going on to play at Bradford City and then manage Bradford City. Yeah, it was split loyalties in a way here today.
And obviously
I won't tell you which way I would go.
As Bradford City manager, absolutely not. And obviously for yourself, James, at the moment playing for Avenue, but I mean, you've had some unbelievable times at City.
Yeah, obviously a lot of very good times at Bradford. A lot of appearances. Unfortunately, obviously this man helped me start my career off, so, you know, I've got him to thank as well. But yeah, obviously now currently playing for Avenue, and a good win yesterday, which you know, it's good to see us back up and running in the league and getting some points on the board.
And finally from me as well, kind of looking at both teams' season so far. City just outside of playoffs, and Avenue recent change in manager, trying to climb back up the league. Jim, how are you feeling for both teams?
Obviously optimistic first and foremost for the Avenue, that team I'm playing for. You know, I think performances in the last 4 or 5 games have definitely been improved, and you know, you can see a way that we're going to play and attack this league now. And like I say, we're only 9 points off top, and that's got to be his aim. You know, we've got to try and win this league, and you know, it's not too late. And obviously Bradford have had a bit of a mixed start. Obviously Harrogate seem to be the bogey team. You know, they'll never go there and win at the minute. So yeah, they still find themselves wanting 9th or something like that, 7th, 8th, just outside the playoffs. So yeah, all in all, you know, solid start.
Thanks, James. And yourself, Terry, fortunes for both the Bantams and Avenue?
Yes, well, I haven't seen either team yet this season, so it's difficult for me to make too many comments. I'll be watching Bradford City when they play Doncaster at the end of October, so looking forward to that, and then I may have a better idea of my opinions on that. Park Avenue, again, I haven't seen, but I know with the new manager now, they've changed things a little bit, and they got a good result on Saturday, so I hope that's the start of better things to come.
There we go. That's James Hansen and Terry Dolan speaking to you on Sunday, Lou, at the Veterans game. And look, actually, the one thing I haven't really touched on, 4-4 sounds like an absolute thriller.
Yeah, it was, but I'm not adding it to my match day because it's not an official game. So that'll please you. That'll please you. But yeah, no, it was a really good event, a really good day. The game did seem to go on a bit longer than I thought it would do. I think players were almost kind of hoping that it might finish a bit earlier. There was some tired legs, shall we say, and rotating substitutions as well. But yeah, no, really good day. It was good to see some of the City lads obviously make the appearance because let's be honest, they're the ones who are going to pull the punters in. But also, you know, it was nice to see some of the older Avenue, a lot that I know well, and also most recently from the team that got promoted to the National League North side at the time. So yeah, it was good to see, and it's like I say, it happens every year. So hopefully there's a few more come back next year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That will be good, and hopefully we'll get one or two of the ones that we've spoken to, you caught up with on the show as well in future weeks. That was always be welcome. Let's turn our attention then across the normally seen West Yorkshire, and look, I mean, somehow, Lewis, you've got the full production value this week. What with videos and interviews, and then graphics to come as well.
Love it. This is great. It's
So
not
let's
like
start.
How good's this?
Yeah, look at this. It's actual production values on the West Yorkshire Football Show. We never thought we'd see the day. I mean, let's have a quick look in. But we'll not go through every result one by one, but a couple of results that in particular stand out on the first page from the weekend. Guiseley, in particular, in the FA Cup with a giant killing against top of the league Scunthorpe to start with.
Massive victory. Really proud for Bauer and Bosch because they deserve a really good cup run. Because they have struggled in recent years, ironically, at both Guiseley and Avenue, really, to get far. But they do deserve to go as far as they can. But it's a stunning win against Scunthorpe, who, you know, top the National League North table at the moment. And listen, seeing some of the highlights from the game earlier today, and guys that looked like they gave a really good account of themselves, really pushed Scunthorpe all the way. And it was basically set piece that won it. Will Longbottom's ball into the box. Jake Lawler's got on the end of it, looped his header over the keeper, Rory Watson, into the corner, and it's basically the goal that's gotten the win. You know, and this is at the same time, guys, they had gone down to 10 men after as well in the second half, so they've done extremely well. And I say their reward, ironically, you know, way up Buxton or Kidderminster is probably not the tie we would have hoped for in the fourth round qualifying.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility that they can still get something out of that. Listen, if they can beat Scunthorpe, they can beat anybody in that division.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Obviously, Buxton and Kidderminster both National League North sides, so having done it, as you say, against Scunthorpe at the top, if they can, whether it's done on the day or takes a replay, if they can get through into that first round draw, it'd be very, very welcome. Farnsley Celtic also progressing through the FA Cup. 1-0 win for them away at Wythenshawe. They've been handed a tie at home to Kettering. Obviously, the question mark is still on the home part, I suppose.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, Farnsley Celtic and we're picked to go on the red button like Campion were earlier in the competition. So again, that's really good coverage for our West Yorkshire teams. But yeah, 1-0 win, really composed finish by Darren Stevenson after being put through on goal, took it round the keeper and slotted it home. And again, one goal usually in cup ties can just do the trick, which is what we've seen for both of our teams. And I think on paper it's a favourable draw for sure for Farnsley Celtic. Like you said, the interesting thing is where do they play this game? Does it potentially get switched? Does it go to a neutral venue? Obviously, that's to be confirmed yet, and you know we'll update everybody on where that is. But again, it's a draw that Farnsley Celtic will probably be quite happy with, and it's an opportunity for them to get in the first round and you know maybe get into that first round and take on a league team. Which, let's be honest, you could go to a Huddersfield or a Bradford City, for instance, and they'd absolutely love that.
Absolutely. Let's touch on the MPL East. A couple of big wins, actually, for some of our sides, and a couple of fairly big and costly defeats when you look at Brighouse losing at home and Garforth losing away at Stocksbridge. But let's touch on Avenue, obviously, for Craig Elliott, his first home game in the dugout in the league. Produced a 2-0 win for Avenue.
Yeah, big win. Craig Elliott's really trying to change the way that club is run on the pitch. 4 debutants with Josh Ashman, Sonny Whittingham on loan from Hyde, Jack Normanton, who got on the score sheet within the first 30 seconds. Perfect start to league career at Avenue. And notably Mark Beavers, who's played over 500 appearances. Wednesday, Peterborough, Bolton, and played the full 90 minutes and was really impressive. Showed all his class and experience. And after catching up with him at the end of the game, he's fully enjoying his time. So, and at the time of speaking, Avenue have added another one into the squad, Ben Blythe, who's based in Leeds but had spells at Doncaster and Swansea recently, playing in the Welsh League with Barry Town as well. So it's another one. But yeah, that's not a bad result for Avenue. They've just got to build on it. But like you said earlier, there's some big victories. Amir Birchall scoring a hat-trick. The guy's on absolute fire. Seen him quite a few times, and I'll be honest, I've not really seen this in his locker recently. He's kind of pushed out a little bit of the starting lineup at North Ferriby, and now he's absolutely flying at Emily. Seen him a couple of times, and he's just, at the moment, when you've got plenty of confidence and you're playing well, you almost feel invincible. And I think that's one play to really keep an eye on so far. Disappointing for Garforth to lose 3-0. And like you said, Brighouse losing 3-0 against Grimsby bore as a blow. But yeah, a mixed bag, I'd say, from our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily currently sitting top of the MPL East, it has to be said, into the Northern Counties League. And once again, some big results, some crucial results as well. And perhaps one of the surprises, Albion Sports, a 4-1 win away at Hallam. And look, you and me over the last few weeks have both tipped Hallam to do really well. And since doing that, they seem to have hit the skids a bit.
Yeah, it shows what we know. Wowzers. I mean, Albion Sports is a great result. And listen, they're flying. They're third in the league at the moment and doing really, really well. Listen, they got through to the final last year and narrowly missed out to Garforth Town. They've had a few players taken off them from clubs in higher divisions. Robbie Fox at Farsley, Kareem Hassan-Smith at Avenue. But Nathan Cartman, he's been there and done it, worn a T-shirt. Still going, gets a hat-trick. Ellis Wade getting on the score sheet as well. Both players getting on the score sheet for the second consecutive week. They're away at Parkgate tomorrow with the ticker going at the bottom to let you know the fixtures. And Albion Sports will always be very, very about. It's good management, good setup, and doing what they're doing. Another one that stands out for me across this is Silsden's 90th minute winner against Galway United. Tom Greaves, another one, just like Nathan Cameron, who just doesn't stop scoring. Hasn't probably played as many minutes as he may have hoped, but when you give Greaves a chance in front of goal, he knows how to score. Kind of on to Division 1, another good win for Ilkley Town, but the stands out for me are Horbury Town at the moment, top of the league by 2 points. Yes, we've played a game more than Wunwell Town, but Horbury Town are flying. My tip at the beginning of the season to do really well. And listen to the likes of James Cusworth going back there, scoring goals. And Gabriel Brojang, for me, is one to watch out for. It just seems to light up this division whenever he's playing for Horbury. So, yeah, it's some good results in there for some of our teams, especially in Division 1.
Yeah, but I just want to touch on the Cross City derby as well. Yorkshire Amateurs losing away at the South Leeds Stadium by 4-1. We touched on how difficult times have been over the last few years for Yorkshire Amateurs, and sadly for them, it seems it's going to be another season that's like the ones that have been before in recent years of struggle.
Yeah, I remember Yorkshire Amateurs at one point. They were pushing to be one of the Premier non-league. Yeah, they were really pushing to be up there in the non-league scene in our region, but unfortunately, had some tougher times recently. At the moment, bottom of the table, 3 points out of 11, minus 32 goal difference. They did win in the FA Vase last week against Newcastle Benfield, but struggling in the league at the moment in South Leeds, who've had a bit of a mixed start. One of my tips to be up there in the top 5. They've pulled out a really good victory, and they'll be wanting to push on and kind of show what they're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, first season in the NCL for South Leeds. And finally, looking at the northwest side of the Northwest Counties League, the sides in our region that we cover. We can touch on all of these because there's only 3 of them, Lou. Obviously, for Barlick Town, look, the Isle of Man is always a big draw, usually for the away games for the sides in that league. But to lose that one will be a bit of a disappointment, I think, for those at Barlick because, they've not been doing too bad. Steady away, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, steady away. And I think, Isle of Man, with the reputation that comes with them and how they're set up, they're always going to be really strong. But Barlick at the moment, sitting just below mid-table, played 11 games, obviously with their cup exploits. with 17 points, so they've got room to make up. But Isle of Man are going to be up there. Doesn't really surprise me, that result, but I think if Barlick are really serious about contention for playoffs and promotion, they can't really be losing them kind of games.
No, and then obviously in the North West Counties League, the First Division North, our two sides are both at ground share at Marley Park in Keighley. Differing results for them. Steeton losing on the road. Route 1 Rovers getting a 3-2 thrilling win against Darwin.
Yeah, both struggling at the wrong end of the table. Unfortunately, Steeton have had quite a change over pre-season with Roy Mason and the guys there, trying to revolutionise themselves, so to speak, on the pitch with a number of signings. But at the moment, I think it's just taking a bit of time to bed in. And Route 1 Rovers, it's that second season syndrome that we talk about, don't we? They were flying last season. At the moment, in 16th out of 18th, and that's a really good win for me against Darwin, who were probably going to be in and around Route 1. So it's, again, like we spoke about with Barlick, you got to beat the teams in and around you. And Route 1 have done that and picked up a little bit of form. So hopefully both them teams at Marley can push themselves up the table a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. That's all the production value used up once and for all. And for us with the West Yorkshire Football Show. Just before we go, Lou, this week, I'll say tomorrow night in particular, there's a whole host of fixtures for our non-league sides, ranging from the County Cup game between Liversidge and Barlick Town, some league games as well. Gannon guys are away at Bradford United. There's some good-looking games, though, close to home tomorrow night. Obviously, Pontefract, Colliery's there at home to Emley in the NCL. And with the way that Emley's been flying, that should be a cracker.
Yeah, I think that's the pick of the games to me. I think that'll be a really good test for Emley, but also Ponty. Ponty probably not started as well as I thought they would do. Again, they've had a little bit of change during pre-season with new manager, but I think it's one where Ponty can put a bit of a stamp on the season and get themselves going. But Emley at the moment, they mentioned earlier, flying. I watched them against Brighouse only recently, and they didn't really take the game to Brighouse. Brighouse really did well, but they just stuck at it, did Emley, and just got the rewards. And like I said earlier, the likes of Birchall up front, and I know they've signed a couple who just bolster the strength in depth. They're looking really strong. I'm going to get along to Golka tomorrow night against Eccleshill, so if people are there, come and say hello. I'll be there watching that one. And again, another team who are doing really well. Both teams, Eccleshill have had a fair bit of change. Golka as well are wanting to do a little bit better, but I mean, Golka, top, fifth at the moment.
Top 5 at the moment, yeah. Eccleshill have picked up some results as well in recent weeks. I think that could actually be a really, really good game. I think I'll be hanging along to that one tomorrow night.
Fab, yeah. No, we'll see everybody there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But what I will say is, from our perspective in the Premier, especially, it's nice to see Silsden, Albion, Fackley, Golka occupying them 2, 3, 4, 5 positions. They're not far off Penistone, who are 4 points ahead, but they've played a game more than some of them teams. So the competition in West Yorkshire is really strong. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, if the season ended now, the playoffs would be absolutely belting. But there is a long, long way to go before that. Any other business, gentlemen?
Don't think so.
Oh, good night.
I will take that. Sorry, Jay. I caught you out completely, didn't I?
I zoned out. I was watching.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
I was watching Yusuf Malumbu getting sent off for picking up the ball and kicking it at Gary O'Neill. Do you remember?
I saw that earlier. I don't know about it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was in a world of my own.
And apparently, at some point, you were showing off your Cookie Monster lounge pants as well.
I have some Cookie Monster pajamas on. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't put my knee up.
That's what the crowd wants to see.
They'll go home happy tonight.
That's how we get views and followers.
While I can provide some content, boys.
Excellent. It wouldn't be the Monday night show if we didn't end in some sort of chaos, would it? So there we go. Big thank you to Lewis Sale, to Gareth Walker, to Jason Booker, and of course to Stephen Downs, who joined us right at the start of the show. So if you're a Huddersfield Town fan that joined late, you missed your bit. Go and watch it back on catch up. It was right at the start of the show, that half an hour of Steve looking forward greatly to tomorrow night's game away at Birmingham City. I say in jest. Enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever you get up to. Keep an eye on the social media channels as well to let you know what's coming up on the channel. I'm sure Jay and Brownie will be back with Leeds United contact down to when he's recovered from whatever happens tomorrow night in Birmingham, we'll have some Huddersfield Town content. Jay?
Leeds review tomorrow night after the game, and Leeds review content on Friday night after that game as well. So we're going to be
busy week for you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I know I'm saying it, but we're getting some really good coverage on our socials as well. So for those who do listen, just keep doing what you're doing, keep sharing, keep spreading the word, like the videos, do all what you need to do, because we all really appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Gaz, enjoy them fish and chips in Morecambe tomorrow night.
Probably enjoy them a lot more than the game. I can see Derek Adams waving at us already.
We need pictures. We need pictures, Gaz.
We do. Enjoy. Thanks for watching tonight. Thanks for your comments, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.